Nau mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to the Flight of the Next podcast. My name's Holly. I'm here on Gadigal land in Sydney, as is Danny. In Te Whanganui, Atara, Wellington, we have Alex, and in Tamaki Makaurau, Auckland, we have Erin. All right, we'll get started with the women. This time, they played on Friday night. They played Melbourne Victory away. They drew 1-1, which was pretty good because I think we were sort of expecting maybe a loss with Gielnik and Chidiac being back. We scored a goal in the 90th minute. So we gave away a penalty first, which was scored almost saved by Vilau, who was our player of the match. We kind of didn't get much of the ball or play that well. I think in the first half, we really had to grow into the game. After about 9 minutes, someone noticed that the possession stats were 91-9 in favour of Melbourne Victory. So yes, conceded a goal to a penalty, but right in the 90th minute, Emma Main, well, it was Maya to Emma to Manaya, bullet header, absolutely incredible. Who wants to start? Erin, how are you feeling about the match?
Well, when I saw that it was 9% possession at that very start, I thought we are in for an absolute bollocking here. They were coming at us hard and fast, and we didn't see the ball at all. I don't even think I saw the ball go over halfway for the first however many minutes, and I was just very worried that it was just going to be a blowout, and we were going to just kind of lose the form that we've had and just, go on to a rough few next weeks. And to be honest, I don't think we played that well at all. I think our defense was just in shambles half the time. They were not clearing the ball. Passes weren't going to feed. They were going straight out. Even when they had time on the ball, they were just, kicking it away to no one. And it was kind of a bit of a mess. And I think that Vilau being good kept us in the game. And I think she's kept us in the game for the past few weeks as well. She's made some fantastic saves. And I think that she pulled off 4 or 5 pretty good goal-saving saves in that first half that kind of kept it in there. And then, we gave away pretty soft penalty. Wall just hacked at a ball that probably... She probably had no need to go for it. I think there were a few other people around that could have blocked a shot or whatever. But, these things happen. Vilau almost saved it. And, 1-0 down. I was like, oh, here we go. It's not going to look good for us. We were kicking the ball straight into each other. At one point, I just said, we have just completely lost the plot here. This isn't even football anymore. I have no idea what's happening. But, then we put the kids on and they ran rampant and we got a goal from it. And so I think it's a very, very good result to get a point against Melbourne Victory, our first ever point in Victoria, I believe, which is fantastic. And I think it keeps spirits high going into next week, which is good to see.
I'll contradict Erin a little bit there and say I think that game went exactly to plan. I think Paul Temple will be really, really happy with that. And if he's not claiming that as a tactical master plan, then I think he probably should do. I think he set up with 4 centre-backs at the back. And, he knew we were going to get completely attacked, all the time. We were going to have our little ball going forward. And we're just going to be tied at the back, see if we can hold off. And then last 20 minutes, bring on people with once a victory have been... run to the ground, if you like, just board attacking a brick wall, then bring on people with pace, Emma Main, Manaya Elliott, and just run at them and see what we can do. And look, it worked. Yeah, again, whether he really thought that could happen, I don't know, but we conceded only 1 goal, despite the amount of possession they had, the number of shots they had, the number of balls they put into the box. And at the end, we were pushing for a winner. We had a number of chances in the last sort of 10, 15 minutes because they were out of puff. They'd run out of it, and we came on. Emma Main was everywhere, often getting in the way. You're right, but she was everywhere. Manaya Elliott did well, and suddenly we seemed to be stretching them. Tanaka, Main, and Elliott just seemed to be finding spaces. Even Jale, who had been pretty anonymous up to then, suddenly seemed to be getting the ball. We'd push Maya McCutcheon further up, probably halfway through the second half, so she was away from the defence, and she was now attacking. And yeah, I thought it was an excellent result. It was probably lucky. We rode our luck, absolutely. But I think it's probably as good as Paul Temple could have hoped for, getting a draw there. And I think that probably it went as good to plan as he possibly could have hoped, even though, we rode our luck. But great result. Maybe not a brilliant game to watch on our point of view. Nothing really to talk about going forward. Defensively, look, they got stuck in there and they blocked the shots. Vilau saved everything that went to her, almost got the penalty as well. So I came away pretty happy with that because I always expected to get beat. And if you look at the possession shots, the possession stats, you think, yeah, we got smashed. But I watched the sort of the match back, the extended highlights, and actually, they could have had a couple, but come the second half, they weren't completely dominating us. They weren't really getting in behind us. We were. Well, I won't say we were controlling it. That's being a bit too optimistic, possibly. But we knew what they were doing, and we were set up to counter that, and we seemed to do it in the end. So I was reasonably happy. And yeah, I think Temple he'll be giving himself a big tick on that.
Yeah, I think Vilau was they just completely saved it for us. The Victory had heaps of chances, but just Vilau kept saving them. I think it's kind of the hallmark of an international spot for the Wellington Phoenix. They start off really horribly, and fans start to go, "Oh, why have we signed this player?" And then come round 6, round 7, they start being the best player in the team and winning us points. And then it's like kind of that we're so back moment. And I think that's what we saw today. Vilau had an amazing stunner of a game, and she's been building up to it, especially last game as well. And Maya McCutcheon, amazing game, but she's kind of shown that consistency across the season. She's been really solid in that defensive midfield position. She's shown how versatile she can be, dropping back into centre back at times. The ball to Emma Main to find the I want to say winner, felt like a winner, but it was actually just an equaliser. Was brilliant, and kind of that poise is what you expect from a defensive midfielder at times. I think we'll be under a very big fight to keep her under contract for next season. But, I guess we just need to enjoy it while we can.
Any other thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I just want to go back to what Danny said because he disagreed with me. And so, but so the game plan did work. We did go and start Olivia Kelly, who I found out is like 10 foot tall, to be a tall present to Mark M. Gilnick there. And we did go on with this plan to start with those that back line to counteract what Victory were going to throw at us, and then put the young ones on later to get the energy in. But that also could have gone so horribly wrong. So Vilau kept us in the game there because I think if she hadn't have stopped a lot of those really, really good opportunities they could have had a few up on us very early on when we hadn't quite settled into the game yet. And it would have been a completely different story. And I don't think we would have been able to come back from that. It would have been a bit too high of a mountain to climb. So, thankfully, she did keep us in that. We ended up, getting that equaliser. We got the draw. Paul Temple's game plan worked, but it could have very, very, very easily not.
Yeah, I'm probably being a bit optimistic, giving him a bit too much credit. It may not have worked, but again, I think possibly, what else could we do? Realistically, Victory, excellent side, they got their big players back. Is there another game plan we could have put in where we would have done any better? I'm not sure. So maybe it was a bit of needs must. We're just going to have to sit back, hold on, see if we can, ride our luck. And it worked. Yeah, you're right. Maybe 4 times out of 5 that wouldn't work, but it seemed to today. In terms of what I liked about it, as well as the defensive prowess, is the fact that the front players in that first half, although they were getting very little to do, they just kept running. Ferguson just runs around like nobody's just all the time. It's really impressive because she was on a hiding to nothing. She was getting no balls, nothing for her, but she kept going, and then she would come back as well and still run around. She probably does need to start scoring, I think, to keep her place. But you can't fault her work rate at all. She was really, really working hard. Tougher game for Alyssa Wynnham. Again, she had no protection in that midfield, really. When she got the ball, she was immediately surrounded by 3 or 4. I think if you look at her stats, she lost sort of 70% of the duels, as they call it. So she was constantly getting surrounded, and her passing there was pretty low compared to what she normally does. So that must have been a very frustrating match for her. But again, she kept working, and the few chances we did have were mainly came from her, beating that press and getting a ball away. Jale, I thought, was unconvincing, which unfortunately she has been, I think, mostly this season. Again, high hopes for her. I'm not sure what we do now, because she was playing sort of wide on the right, and she didn't really seem to be producing much. Certainly when Tanaka came on, she certainly looked a lot more convincing or more effective there. Again, it was later in the game. Victory a bit tired. I don't know. I'd quite like to see Jale as a centre forward and see if we can get some crosses into her and see if she can, cause a bit of chaos in penalty areas there. But doesn't really seem to have found her place yet in this team.
To be honest, I think that's the kind of the story of Grace Jale's career. I don't know what it is, but at the Phoenix and the Football Ferns, she's been misused, but she's been misused so consistently that I'm not sure it's actually misuse, because all these coaches not playing her at striker, there must be something we're not seeing here. She plays wide for the Football Ferns, or she did it under Jukka Klimkova at least too. But you'd think, looking at her, she's striker through and through. She's tall, she's got a good finish on her. I think she played striker for us in our first season, and she's scored a few goals. But since then, it's been out wide, or maybe a bit deeper. The other thing I wanted to talk about was that Victory actually only made 2 substitutions. So you talk about Paul Temple's game plan working, but part of that was just because Victory allowed it to work. We made 4 substitutions, lots of them, playing good half an hour. Victory made 2 substitutions, one of them only playing 2 minutes. So in reality, they pretty much only made one, useful substitution in hindsight. And we ran rings around them in that last 20 minutes. So I think, Victory could have done slightly better in that, especially, in however hot it is over there.
I think it's generally with where you play players, it's not just a matter of where their strengths are, it's where their strengths fit in with the team. And so if you have someone who is a better striker, then perhaps you push your other striker wide. Sometimes it's a juggle, but you're right that Jale with us this season, last season at Perth, the season before at Canberra, maybe isn't being played to her strength, but I don't know, maybe it'll come right. I really hope so, because as I said, we were all very excited to have her back. I would be interested to hear from our listeners who agrees with Erin and who agrees with Danny. Our next match is against Sydney FC. That is at home at Porirua Park on Saturday at, I believe, 4 p.m. So if you can make it to that, please go along. I'm sure the fever will be in full voice. We're playing Sydney FC. Last time Sydney FC visited Porirua Park, they beat us. I can't remember the score, but it was quite comfortably. Courtney Vine put up a strike that was one of the goals of the season for me. She was excellent. We also gave her a lot of shit. It was good fun having Courtney Vine there. Obviously, she's no longer with them, and Sydney FC are having a shocker start to the season. They are 1 win, 1 draw, 4 losses, including losing to the Jets in stoppage time. This round just been, despite the fact that the Jets keeper got herself sent off in the 13th minute. Erin, are Sydney FC on fraud watch?
Yes, they have been for a few weeks now. I have no idea what has happened with the squad, but they've had a shocking start, and they're very beatable. And I'm very excited to watch this game this weekend, because I think that we can put on an absolute show at home and get a really good result against the most successful team in the league, who are having a not so successful season so far. So very excited to see this, and Yeah, and also their one win has come from Western Sydney Wanderers, who are also not having the best of seasons, except for their last game where they just managed to destroy Western United out of nowhere with a 17-minute hat-trick, which is incredible. From 2 goals to 7 goals in one game is pretty good. So, Sydney FC, top of fraud watch list. Hopefully we get a good 3 points from it.
Alex, you'll be there, I'm assuming?
Yeah, should be good vibes. It's the annual Nixmas, the women's Nixmas game. So, hopefully we get a good crowd along. I think we're definitely going to be eyeing up 3 points for this one. Historically, we haven't been the best against Sydney FC. I can only remember us beating them once, actually, which I think was last season. No, 2 seasons ago even. The one in Auckland. But, at home, which is where we play our best, supposedly, I think we've got to be eyeing up 3 points, definitely.
It would be great to beat Sydney again, and I guess this is our best chance to do that, to beat them at home, because I don't know what's gone wrong with them, but you've got to think they'll end up putting it right at some point in the season. They're just too big a club with too many decent players and resources not to get it right at some point throughout the season. So we really need to take our advantage. If we can, that will be 4 games unbeaten. That will be pretty something. That'll be a real statement.
I think that would be our longest unbeaten run ever.
I think they've been having trouble in the keeping position. Obviously, they signed Bree Edwards, who we're very fond of, as the starting keeper. She'd been making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes. Obviously, we had her play that full season for us, almost a full season for us. A couple of seasons ago, she was fantastic. I don't know what's happening at the moment. She's been a little bit off of her game. So they've had Talia Franco in, who has also not been performing particularly well. So I'm hoping that we can take advantage of whatever it is that has put Sydney FC in its funk down second to last on the table. We'll see. All right, so we'll talk about the men as well. The men played at home against Macarthur. Now, this really should have been 3 points up for grabs. Obviously, no one's a pushover necessarily in this league. I mean, other than Perth men maybe at the moment, but I really felt like we should have gotten something out of this game. So we had a 2-1 loss, a fantastic goal from Costa with a wonderful little link up, 1-2 tight space approach from Marco and Costa. Absolutely fantastic goal, but we were let down by just a mistake at the back. Poor old Isaac Hughes has not been having a fantastic start to this season. So he's, I guess, tried to chest the ball down. It's hit his arm. And Joshy manages to save the penalty the first time, but obviously it's been deflected into the path of whoever took it, Germain, or I'm not sure. It was deflected in the path. It was put in the back of the net. And then they scored a second goal in the second half. I'm a little bit frustrated about that, but I feel like maybe we were just outplayed. I'm not too sure. Danny, what do you reckon?
I think frustration, is the main sort of emotion I took away from that game. We weren't bad. I don't think we were outplayed. I think we were the better side. We had the better chances. I think we dominated large parts of the game. But we didn't put our chances away. Curto had a blinder. He made 3 absolutely brilliant saves. If 2 of those had gone in, we're talking differently now. And we played some really, really nice, our best attacking football of the season, probably that 20 minutes before half-time, when Rojas and Barbarouses were just tearing them apart. Some lovely touches there. Looked really good. But the slow start to the first half and the slow start to the second half, just sort of cost us. Macarthur aren't a bad side, but we always seem to have the wood over them. So I was expecting to win, because we generally win against Macarthur. But they're not a bad side. They're a decent attacking side. They can score goals, which they've seen. And they scored goals against us today. The penalty was unlucky. I think the ball just bounced the wrong way, and he was just off balance leaning, and his arm hit it. And their second goal was decent goal again. Past Hughes made the first mistake, but the defending was awful. The guy who scored it, Bosniak, was surrounded by 5 yellow shirts in the penalty area. There was no one else in the penalty area, just him and 5 yellow shirts. And somehow he got to the ball. So that's just bad defending, lack of concentration. And yeah, we didn't score. Once Rojas got tired, organised attacking sort of fell apart or seemed to. We still had plenty of the ball. We still got forward, but it was more just, it didn't look organised. We were just getting the ball forward, seeing who we went to, and they would have a shot or put a ball in. We had 3 shots from outside the box, which sawed over the bar. Retre, Altai put one wide, and then, of course, the obligatory Rufer blast into the crowd that he normally does once a match. And that's not like us to have that many. That's what opposition sides do, because they don't get it into the box enough, so they end up getting frustrated and booting it from outside the box. So that sort of showed that we didn't really have an idea of what we were doing. I felt once Rojas went out, Kolakowski comes on. It hasn't really impressed me yet this season. I think he's a decent player. I was happy that we signed him, but he doesn't seem to have fitted in with our play. He just seems to run around a lot, which is great. And if he's in a good position, someone gets a ball to him, well, that's great. But he doesn't really seem to be playing to a system like we are when he's not on the pitch. I don't know whether that's supposed to do that or not, but it felt like we needed something else. We needed another sort of bit of catalyst to come on and do something. And there wasn't really anybody on the bench that was going to do that. Maybe Walker could have come on. Van Hatten wasn't on there. I was sort of hoping, sort of praying, I wish Gabby Slide Rodriguez was on there. It needs to be something different, to maybe change something up, because we just didn't look like we were going to score. Didn't look like we knew what we were doing. So I don't think it was a terribly bad performance. It was a bad result. We showed some really nice football going forward, but also we just were off our game, I think, for the rest of it.
I mean, what can you do? I mean, when you kind of, it's just those moments of play, like, Costa's miss, or I want to say miss, Curto's save, rather, the handball by Hughes, and it's heaps of moments like that that have pretty much wrapped up our season. And they're mistakes or moments that we wouldn't have seen happen to us last season. So I guess you can kind of ask, what's happened. We've had a change of playing style, which I think is for the best in the long term, but it'll take a while for it to start bearing fruits. With Rojas in the team, we switched to a back 4. I don't know if you can I think we kind of play this formationless football in a way, so it's kind of hard to sum up how we play in a formation. But it was different. I think Rojas and Costa, that duo was really good throughout the match, and they showed a lot. And I think, to be honest, they should have had one more between them. But Hughes has been making a few mistakes this season, and to be honest, I don't know what it is. Because I guess with Finn Sermon, the first season he came in, he was kind of a similar player. You could see he's got lots of potential in him. He's kind of thrown into the deep end, but he made those mistakes. He wasn't the finished product that he was last season. And then the season after, he was completely faultless, didn't step a foot wrong. And then obviously we lose him after one good season, as you do in the A-League. And I guess hopefully we can just hope that we see the same with Hughes. There's potential to sign a new defender. I think Tuiloma's free, but I'd like to see us persist with Hughes. I think there are a lot of fans talking on Twitter and elsewhere, as they do, that Hughes should be dropped. I've even seen a few people saying Chiefy should be sacked, but that's just an overreaction. Chiefy's the best coach we've ever had at this club. We're obviously going in a good direction, to be honest. I think it'll all average itself out as the season progresses, I guess.
I'm happy to see Rojas get a start. I think I saw the stat, it was 2,000 and something days. I don't have the number right on me because I'm not prepared, but it's I think it was the record for the longest starts for a team, and I think he was really good. And I think him and Costa are kind of the pair that we've needed to really get a good attack going. And it's been good to see. And it's been a shame about Hughes. I think that he actually started the season pretty well for someone coming into the squad, a young player who didn't really get much game time. coming in and slotting into centre back in front of Josh as well, who was kind of dodgy to start the season. And so he had to step up and counteract that. And so it's just kind of a shame to see 2 weeks in a row where he's been a bit off his game and caused probably 3 goals. Hopefully that's just kind of a confidence thing, and you don't just drop him straight away, because that will just shatter the confidence going forward. But you also have to be aware that if you keep doing this and keep costing games, then you have to do something about it. But other than that, I don't really know what else to say for this match. I watched the highlights for this. It was like a minute long, whereas the women's game was about 10 minutes long and had so much good stuff. This game, I kind of just forgot it even happened as soon as the whistle went, and blanked it from my mind, and I just moved on to next week, because if I keep dwelling on this team, then I don't think I'll ever find happiness.
I mean, for a young player stepping up to a new level, like a top level, and I'm speaking from experience in this as well as having watched the Phoenix for ages, I think not as much of it is on that technical level as you'd expect. I think a lot of it is mental, and how you deal with the step up mentally, and how you deal with stepping up from mistakes, and making up for mistakes, I guess, and how you kind of deal with the mistakes. A lot of it is mental, and a lot of it is in your head, and especially in the A-League, there's so much criticism, there's so much punditry around it. I guess in any professional football, it's nowhere like how it is in England, where Hughes comes from. But it can be hard for a young player, and I think once you make one mistake, the kind of floodlights or the floodgates open, and then you start making lots more. So it's kind of up to the team to kind of get around Hughes, let him know that he's still a wonderful player, and his worth to the team isn't lost, and he can continue being a wonderful player for us.
Yeah, I think I'm sure they will. I'm sure they're aware of that. There's the whole ethos now of the Phoenix is bringing young players through, and we've been lauded, and we're saying, oh, what is great last year, and we sold all these players onto Europe, etc. But if you're going to do that, you've got to realise that young players don't immediately become great players when they step on a football pitch. They will take time to get better. And, we talk about all the players that have gone overseas from us, but none of them started perfectly either. Kikachi wasn't a brilliant left-back when he first started. Sarpreet Singh wasn't, as good a player as he was when he first started. Old basically had a season and a half of being not that effective, to be perfectly honest, before he suddenly clicked. Again, with Finn Sermon, he had, a good half a season, and then he had a season out with the team. Not many people do what Alex Paulson do, is come in and be brilliant straight away. If we want to be that kind of club that does develop our own players through academy and then moves them on, we're going to have to accept that, one, even if they do go on in future times, they're going to be not great to start with, potentially. They're going to be inconsistent. They're going to have times when they're not on form. And two, also, we might end up with players that will play for a while and they don't make it. Not everything's going to be, it's an imperfect science. Not all players suddenly, get better, as it goes on. I see a lot of people seeing young players, he's only going to get better. Actually, a lot of young players don't get better. A lot of players hit their peak when they're 15, 16, or in my case, about 11 or 12. And they don't necessarily improve all the way, They can get good, or they just don't have what it takes to be a professional footballer. They have all the technique in the world, but they don't have the mental skills, or they don't have the match vision, whatever it is. And we're going to have players like that who will come in and they'll play. And I don't want to be harsh, but maybe someone like Oscar Van Hatten is potentially like that. He's come in, he's not bad, but he hasn't really kicked on to that next level. That will happen if we want to be a team that brings through younger players, which I think we all agree is probably the way of the future for the team.
One of the topics of discussion in terms of the squad in the Little Corner of Yellow group chat was a sense that there are a couple of people who felt like what we were missing actually was a goal scorer. Someone like Zavada. Now, Zavada didn't actually play that much of last season, to be honest, and we did have a very good spread of goal scorers. But how do any of you feel about this idea that it's actually a goal scorer we're missing? Maybe we're missing having the spread of goal scorers. So one of the people who did score a lot of goals was Kryev, who obviously has left for Wanderers. Do we need another goal scorer?
I don't think we do, actually. I think Costa is good enough. I think if he gets injured, then there's a question. But, who would step up if he gets injured? There's not many people come to mind. I guess Luke Supik is kind of the other out-and-out striker we've got. Maybe Shige, but he hasn't really shown that he can score goals apart from, one game against the Central Coast Mariners. To be honest, I think the way we play suits Costa, and I don't think it would suit Zavada as much. Zavada is a big man. He's good at hold-up play. He's good at getting on the end of crosses. We don't see many crosses into the box. If we do see crosses into the box, it's when there aren't many defenders in the box, and it's probably an overlapping fullback or wing back like Sam Sutton or Tim Payne trying to get on the end of it, not a striker like Costa Barbarouses or Oscar Zavada. I think Costa's good enough. I think the rest of the team needs to kind of step up in that midfield place. It's kind of just passing that first press where we kind of tend to falter the most. And after then, I think it's actually pretty good, especially with this new combo of Rojas and Barbarouses.
I think if you said, would you have Oscar Zawada back or suddenly that quality, I would absolutely say yes, because he was a brilliant player and he scored goals constantly. I hear what Alex is saying, and I sort of disagree. He doesn't necessarily fit in this particular format that well, and as I said, we were very successful last year without Zawada, but he also scored a lot of good goals, and let's not forget that goal. 99th minute, he was probably the one that would score that. And before Zawada, we had Tom Ahmed, who was a magnificent striker. He scored a lot of goals. He was one of the best strikers in the league. And before they had Gary Hooper, who was also an amazing centre forward. Some of the best strikers in the A-League at the time. They were big number nines, but they were quality players. Somehow we managed to get sort of 3 in a row from overseas. So if you offered me somebody of that quality, I would say, yeah, absolutely. But do we get someone that we're not so sure of just because we think we need to have someone score goals and maybe throws out the type of system that we're playing? Then, yeah, possibly not. I mean, we could say, yeah, well, we've already got them. We've got our Supik. We've got, Van Hatton to an extent. But Supik is very much a centre forward, I understand. Barbarouses gets injured, then maybe we're in trouble. So perhaps we should have somebody thinking of coming in, not necessarily to start, but maybe to finish, maybe when games started getting a bit ragged. So we've got someone there. So if we want Tim Payne to launch stuff into the box, maybe we have someone there for it.
Yeah, I think Chiefy will build the squad around the players we have, regardless of who we have. If we bring in another player, he'll make it work. That's just what he does. And so I think last season when Zavada got injured, we hit that it's so over button and just thought that this was the end of us. But then, Costa stepped up and Chiefy built the squad, he changed things and kind of made it work. And so, I have faith that he would do that again. Costa seems to be getting more and more strapping each game. So I hope that he does stay fit for the whole season because, we do need him. But, hopefully that if something does happen, Chiefy finds a way to just make it work with what we have or what we can get.
Fair enough. So we look forward after that loss to Macarthur, which was quite disappointing. On Sunday at Combank Stadium in Sydney, we're playing Western Sydney Wanderers. It's at 5 p.m. Join us in Bay 103. The little corner of yellow will be there. Just join us no matter where your ticket is. Wanderers have been a little bit hit and miss this season. They drew with Raw on Saturday, and Raw has really not been that good, although to be fair, some of it was just absolute disgusting time wasting on behalf of the Raw team. I'm hoping that we can get a win. I think we can get a win. Any other thoughts?
I'll be optimistic. I think we can get a win. We're certainly capable of it. Western Sydney haven't really shown much this season that they're going to be great. Their crowds are really low, so the morale there at that club, I don't think is very good. The whole one that debate is happening there as well. So again, a little bit like Sydney in the women's league, they're probably there for the taking. If we're going to beat them up there, now's a good time. I'm sure Chiefy will have learned a lot from the game against Macarthur, so I expect they'll be working on that. And if Rowe has a fit, I reckon we can get a win.
I think we should win every game, to be honest. I think we should be title contenders with this squad. And I think Western Sydney are no different. Bojan Akaraev, our former player, plays for them now, and you know how former players play. He's probably bound to get a goal. But, apart from that, I think Borrello, Milanovic have kind of been some of their better players. But they're very attacking players. I think when it comes to defense, they might be somewhat lacking. Gabriel Clerc, I think, still plays for them. He's been good in the past. I'm not sure how good he's been this season, but hopefully we can kind of take advantage of that in a way, of that poor defense, and put a few goals past them, get back our confidence, somewhat as we did against the Mariners when we beat them 3-0.
From the looks of things, they have like the second or third highest goals for, but then they also have the second or third highest goals against. So they're a very good attacking team who seem to be pretty poor at defending. And they've had some pretty high scoring matches this season. So I hope we get a good game. And we get the points, but I just really want to see some goals.
Well, if you can, show up and join us, and we'll make plenty of noise. And hopefully that can push the boys over to a win. And Porirua Park for the women on Saturday. Show up, make plenty of noise. It always helps the teams. We wanted to trial a new segment for our podcast to wrap up. It is talking points, just points about that we want to discuss outside of the next games or generally in the league. Erin, take us away.
Yeah, my talking point with this round is just the absolute crazy goalkeeping that went on this round. We obviously talked about it before, but that red card from the Jets dub, where she came out and just absolutely tackled Princess. I think you always have to have one Canadian goalkeeper in the league who just keeps things interesting. And then we have the Melbourne City and Auckland FC game where there were some absolute shocking goalkeeping performances there as well. Obviously the own goal from Alex Paulson, where they said that it was accredited to the bobble of the field, but absolutely horrific. And if that was the way that they lost their winning streak, it would have been quite funny. But then on the other end of the field, you have Beach, who has holes in his gloves or something, because free kick went right to his hands and it just went right through the middle. It's a pretty textbook save, I'd say. They say that it got hit pretty hard, but to me it kind of looks like something that if you had anything behind it, it would just parry forward and you can save it. So my talking point for this week is just some ridiculous goalkeeping happening.
Yeah, welcome to the A-League, Auckland FC. This is what away games are like. I think it's their first true away game and they've dropped points from it for the first time ever. This is what PK League's like. This stuff happens. You got to deal with it. Happens to all of us.
It was good. I was thinking, finally Auckland have found some bad luck after all. Obviously, we know they're a very lucky side, and I think finally they found some bad luck. And then, of course, they got lucky again in the 95th minute by having a goal basically thrown into his own net by Beach. So they're still the luckiest team in the competition as far as I can.
Yep, goalkeeper mistakes galore. Own goal in the men's league is by far the Golden Boot winner. Crazy times. We'll see what happens. All right, thank you for joining us. We're more than happy to find out what you think of our opinions, so please put in a comment below. Do you agree with Danny or Erin about whether we were a master plan to get the draw out of Victory? We'll find out. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.